Hi, everyone, and welcome to Skin Goals. I'm your host, Lisa Avalos, and this is my co-host, Kelly.
Hey, everyone. And we're so pumped to take you into a little bit of a career series journey on the Skin Goals podcast today. And we have a very amazing special guest with us today. We have our head of professional sales and marketing for our L'Oreal Derm Beauty Brands, Tom Allison, with us. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
So we're going to get into the career today, and we want to learn all about you and your career, Tom. But we also, being this is our intro into the career series, Lisa and I wanted to banter a little bit too about our own career journeys into skincare and the world of skincare for Skin Goals. Lisa, let me ask you, okay, just to begin. What was the thing that like kicked you off into the beauty industry? Is there anything like...
So I don't want to age myself, guys, but I answered a newspaper ad.
Really?
In college. I was like 18 years old, and I remember circling it and highlighting the phone number and giving them a call.
Yeah.
And it was for a small boutique to sell makeup. So they taught me all my skill. It was makeup and skincare, and I learned all, and it was a natural brand. We're not going to say the brand, but it was for a natural brand. So it was a great start to my career. I'm at 18 years old, and then I just went from there. So loving color and skincare and all of it in between. I did that throughout college.
Yeah.
I was a teacher. So I was an educator in a classroom, and you know, teachers need a little money. So I still was doing makeup on the side. So yeah, so that's how it all grew together. And now I do both what I love, teaching and educating on skincare, this is the dream, living the dream right now. How about you, Cal?
Well, you're such a learner. So I could totally see like even your evolution and the teaching piece of it, which is like, you know, we love learning and we love teaching too, right? So I love that. All right. So for me, I like to say that I have been in this skincare industry since I was 7 years old, since I got my caboodle. Okay. So when I got my caboodle, that's when I opened up shop. Okay. I would go to family parties and I would be like making over any cousin or auntie who would possibly let me do a makeover. Like, you know, having like my fun little world with like, you know, my dollar store cosmetics back then, you know, and, it was just like, it opened up the world for me. And then my journey was, I moved into behind the counter eventually, being a makeup artist and, you know, but during that journey, I really realized the better my skin looked, or the better my client's skin looked, the better the makeup looked.
Absolutely.
It was just like such a great canvas. When you have great hydrated skin or skin that has, you know, that glow, that bounce. Yeah. So for me, like that was just, it really took me into skincare. And then I've had the opportunity to come work at L'Oreal, and I started in California in stores and just, I've had so many different roles, but like but the thing that I really missed when I would be internal in the office is I missed connecting. I missed like when I would be behind the counter and connecting with individuals and educating. And, so it's like, I'm living the best of both worlds now. Like it's makeup and teaching and education. It's
amazing.
So how about you, Tom? Because like you're like, we want to hear all about you. Like,
so I guess as you mentioned, I'm the kind of head of professional sales and marketing right now for the L'Oreal Dermatological Beauty. We're called General Dermatology Brands. So CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, and Vichy right now.
Yeah.
I think another claim to fame is I've been with the CeraVe brand since the beginning, and I could walk you through a little bit about that journey. But as a general kind of statement, I've been in the dermatology industry for over 25 years. I worked both on the pharma side as well as obviously the over-the-counter side.
Yeah.
Spending the majority of my time on the over-the-counter side, and got into the industry kind of very much like you guys, which is at the bottom floor, if you will, kind of interacting with physicians, dermatologists themselves, working for another dermatology company. And it was really there that I fell in love with the skin. To what you kind of noticed.
Yeah.
I did not set out. I wasn't like you guys, maybe into skin, went through my teen years or didn't discover it there.
Yeah.
But fell in love with the skin as part of a pharmaceutical company within dermatology, because I got to see the power of how these products can really kind of make a huge difference.
It
and
changes lives.
completely.
It does.
You know, I think when you can set a patient back on a path of skin health,
Yeah.
when they are obviously suffering from something that obviously can sometimes be painful or itchy or affect their quality of life, what I really loved is the mission that it can help their self-esteem as well, because your skin is your billboard.
It really is.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 25 years, like I mentioned, and have been at L'Oreal since they acquired the CeraVe brand in 2017. And I've loved the L'Oreal journey as probably the most prolific part of my career so far, is the ability to see CeraVe be acquired by this amazing storytelling company, to see it grow not only with the United States to be where it is today globally in like 60 countries and doing well everywhere around the world, quickly closing in on a top 10 brand globally. So I've seen it go from $1 million in its first year to what it is today. So it's pretty amazing.
Not too shabby of a journey.
Exactly.
Very much along for the ride, most of it, but
Well, like, I mean, and what a ride, you know, it's like, and I feel like as learners, like you're learning things the whole way through, right? Like every piece, every layer, you know, one of the things that, you saying, like, you know, it's really, I think what inspired me about my journey into L'Oreal, and the L'Oreal Derm Beauty Brands was like that dermatological, like,
Science.
expertise.
Yeah.
And I know even when I was working behind the counter and I with skincare, like I'd always be wondering what derms were doing or what derms were. And I think that's what's so fascinating about, for me, about CeraVe, about, you know, L'Oreal, about the L'Oreal Derm Beauty Brands, is that heritage that they have.
Our division is such a dynamic division. We got amazing winning brands, which I mentioned CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, and Vichy, but we also have on the aesthetic side, both SkinCeuticals, the #1 dispensing, and Skin Better Science, which was a recent acquisition that's closely becoming #2 in that space.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you in terms of what is the thought process of the dermatologist.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that was important for us when we were starting the CeraVe brand is we developed with dermatologists from the beginning. And what that means is we sit down with, call it the world experts, if you will, now that we're global, of these specific subject matters. If we're talking about, for example, acne, we sit down with the people that write the textbook on acne.
Yeah.
And it's not just famous derms or people that might be socially relevant. These are the people actually that are teaching the other dermatologists, to make sure that we're kind of gathering, for obvious reasons, their input in the beginning to help us, one, eliminate mistakes, but also to ultimately bring the very best skincare that we can to the consumer. When we like to say they're our cheat code.
Yeah.
And for us, it just makes sense to incorporate the thoughts of people that know skin the best. And we think about the journey of a dermatologist.
Yeah.
They usually had a scientific background during undergrad. They went to medical school. Then they spent another 3 years focused just on the skin. And a lot of them do fellowships as well after that. So for lack of better terms, they go to school for 27 years to be able to be that subject matter expert on the skin. And when we're developing skincare across all 5 of our brands, at a moment where a physician is interacting with a patient at a time when they need them the most. You think about, as a patient, your journey. Skincare tends, you know, skin or skin health tends to be a lot of the time still reactive.
Right.
You're unhappy, therefore you seek a solution. Versus an annual well check visit you might have with your family practice doctor. I think that's one of the nuances. So with that said, because it's reactive, it's like things are at its breaking point. The consumer or patient has already probably self-treated.
Yes.
They've already tried to counsel with their friends and family and have looked on Google and are still kind of lost, which is why they're willing to take that journey. It takes 5 weeks a lot of times to see a physician, right? It's a higher copay. The medications tend to be expensive. So with that said, to kind of wrap things up on this part, there's just no margin for error when you interface with somebody that is at their worst, that is seeking a solution to be at their best.
Because it's an emotional journey. So it's fascinating to hear about how CeraVe has grown so fast. What makes CeraVe the key success for it being so competitive against the market?
I will say the success of the brand was absolutely, it was owned by the right people at the right time. And what I mean by that is we started the brand at a very small pharmaceutical company called Coria Laboratories. And this is based in Fort Worth, Texas. And as you can imagine, back in 2004, when the brand was kind of getting formulated and thinking about its strategy to launch, we launched in early fourth quarter 2005. So it was really relevant on the market in 2006.
Yeah.
Highly competitive market, right?
Very.
So we were able to start as part of Coria Laboratories, which is an amazing dynamic company that had really amazing talent there. So some of the other people that I had the privilege to work with at Coria were past presidents of large pharmaceutical companies in dermatology, for example, almost legends of the industry, if you will.
Yeah.
So that got our head start. It also had a company that had a larger parent company called DFB Pharmaceuticals, which was very successful. They had wound care, they had DPT Laboratories, which is a gold standard in manufacturing. And that obviously can be something that's difficult to find if you're starting out a brand, like where do you manufacture it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were able to kind of run with this Coria Laboratories, small, scrappy company that didn't put a whole lot of pressure on us to kind of get it right from the beginning. And what I mean by that is we were very lucky at this point, and you can reverse engineer anything after you've lived through it, to have only 3 formulations, one size each, for 6 years.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. A lot of brands today, they launch with 15 items.
They do.
And there you're trying to juggle 15 pins in the air to try to get it right. We launched with CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser, CeraVe Moisturizing Cream, and CeraVe Moisturizing Lotion. And those 3 products for, a good 5 to 6 years before we launched AM, PM, and Foaming Cleanser. So I think first and foremost, like that foundation of one, having a pharmaceutical company, having a sales team at the scale, because we had prescription medications in there, to a time in 2008, a company called Valiant Pharmaceuticals acquired Coria. Valiant was a pharma company that wanted to get into the specialty of dermatology big time. They saw it as an opportunity. So now CeraVe is, and our whole team, our whole company was acquired, and I was able to join Valiant.
And you still had only 3 products at that time?
We still had only 3 products.
Yeah, those 3 products are my favorite.
They're top 3. Yeah. They were right. It was definitely utility and built very, it's still our top sellers today, which I guess says something almost 20 years later. But at Valiant, which is interesting, and why it was successful there is because Valiant started acquiring, call it the greatest hits of topical medication. So they bought out, for example, Novartis's products and Johnson & Johnson's products like Retin-A, for example. So that also helps drive your medical equity. If you have a team of reps, going in, selling these great topical prescription medications, and we're cleansing with CeraVe as well as moisturizing, it helps drive the medical equity of CeraVe.
Yeah.
Past what we would have been if we were just at Coria. Because again, the medications matter in terms of your access and your interest and your reputation as being part of a company. To the point in 2017, again, life cycle management is key in any product that you launch. In 2017, L'Oreal acquires it right at the exact moment where we had built a winning proposition in dermatology. We were well known. We were arguably the #1 derm recommended skincare brand by then.
Right.
At a time when L'Oreal acquires it to tell the consumer in the United States, which we hadn't done, right? We had spent all our time and effort building the equity of the brand from a medical standpoint, but any patient can benefit.
Right. That's
good
so
skincare,
important.
right?
It's so important to have the medical equity because it translates, right? Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I do think like now that you kind of have the opportunity to self-reflect and understand like what, why this would be very difficult to duplicate.
Yes.
Is the fact that it through the journey, it was just owned by the right people at the right time of its life cycle.
Yeah. Often imitated, never duplicated.
Exactly. Yeah. I 100%. And it's more than worked out. And it's been an incredible journey at L'Oreal, which is an amazing company. If you think about what I always find just jaw-dropping is the fact that the ink dried on the acquisition in March of 2017. And by March of 2018, it was in 30 countries around the world. So that's incredible. So it's manufactured now globally. The products are on shelf, and if you think about how difficult it is even to launch maybe an individual SKU, which that process at times can take 2 years. When L'Oreal acquires something, they fuel it and expand it quickly. And that speaks to the amazing dynamic organization that we all work for.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's a great stopping point for us. We're going to take a quick break, everyone, and we'll be right back. And we're back.
Hey, so we've been talking with Tom Allison, and I have a very particular question, because being a learner, like we're overcoming and we're learning. There's always obstacles in the way, that we're outside of the box thinkers. We're trying to solve, right? Are there any obstacles or any challenges that you've encountered in that you could share, on your experience at CeraVe as it's been building?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the obstacles I think we can all experience at times is sometimes you go for that job and you don't get it.
Yeah.
So this actually, yeah. But this actually happened before. I kind of mentioned Korea before and the CeraVe journey is I worked at another company and I had put my name out there to relocate to become a regional sales director. So that would be kind of the manager of managers type position.
Yeah.
And it, convinced my wife. We just had our first baby at the time. She was born and bred in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
All her siblings lived within a few blocks. So it was like we were ready to make the journey. And the position was actually in the Michigan area, so Detroit.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it, right? So, I made it to the final round. They ended up kind of going with somebody that was already in that market and stuff. And I was crushed. I thought I was ready. You always kind of put yourself in a position through your intentionality of your career, right? You worked with the right people. You thought you developed your skill set the right way based off of other people's advice and stuff like that. So that really kind of was crushing. But I think the silver lining as well is like the fact that you will work for 40 years in your career.
Yeah.
And, to keep going and keep striving and not let that kind of get you down. I think it's okay to mourn the loss, if you will, of something that you were really pumped up about.
Yeah.
But the end result of this was about 4 months later was the opportunity. I got a call to go to Corey Laboratories. So I would not have been in that position if I had just taken a new role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard to kind of stomach that or swallow it at the time that the disappointment happens. But my advice for everybody coming out of an obstacle is to keep going.
Yeah.
And what does not dawn on you early on in your career is the fact that you will be building something over a 40+ year time frame.
Yeah.
So some things you can let develop.
Yeah.
And I love the Steve Jobs quote. I don't know if you ever saw his Stanford address. If anybody is out there, I would recommend you look that up on YouTube. He addresses the class back after he was diagnosed with cancer. So it's a great discussion that he gives for all the attendees during that session. But he has this great quote about you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect them, looking backwards.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like I can't tell anybody, if you want to be in this position when you're 50 years old, you got to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to put yourself in a position to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you and go with it.
And it might not be straight up. It might be a monkey bar situation.
Most of the time it will. And actually it should. Like I think for our people in young careers, my advice for everybody is also to think about being, an inch deep and a mile wide.
Yeah.
I think at times people might get into their first digital role, for example, and want to go kind of vertical in a digital.
Yeah.
And my advice is like collect as many different experiences.
Yes.
But as you get older, the funnel will start getting shorter. And when you get, in your senior years of your career, if you will, you basically will become a subject matter expert of something. And I think that's what companies will pay you, a lot of money for.
Especially if you have that inch deep wide, but wide because you have so much experience. I feel like that's where Lisa and I have chatted about this.
Yeah.
Like we've had so many different experiences and that I just really relate to that. Like it's so true.
Taking the chance, because sometimes you're like, I don't know if I should do this or belong here. But some reason the universe is pushing me that way and I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah. Right? I think we struggle a little bit with that at L'Oreal, especially for some people in the home office, for example.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that are really gravitate just on the marketing track. I mean, there's no doubt about it. L'Oreal is a marketing heavy company, where it is hard at times if we're having conversations with people about their career to get them to take a leap, to take a role in sales, for example.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Commercial sales or like interacting with consumers and stuff like that. I talk to people all the time as well. Like, become a field sales rep within dermatology. You learn so much there that you can always come back.
Yes.
And you'll be richer. You'll be better at your marketing job. You'll get that, you know, that muscle will develop onto what's achievable, what's realistic.
Right.
When you're kind of putting or setting out some objectives and opportunity, you know, different campaigns, for example, that the field teams need to execute against and stuff like that. So
in reality, because you're on boots on the ground talking to patients and, you know, the actual consumer.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's such a competitive advantage to actually understand how like it works in the field, or how the, you know, the dermatology office works or that operates. Or I know for me, for like the beauty path that I was in drugstores, really, and training and educating in that space. So it was such a, and I love also like
learn so much.
You learn. Yeah.
I know what compliance is, guys. Who would have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a learner, like such a beyond learner. I'm so lucky to work.
The days in the pharmacy, you know.
Yeah.
I think the name of the game is influencing others.
Yeah, for sure.
No matter what you do. And the best way to do that is practice your craft.
Yeah. I also love though, like kind of you're saying like it's, I don't know, I always kind of go back to this, like it may be a no is really just a not right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you can, there's something else, you know, like keep going, keep moving.
Yeah.
So
something bigger is coming.
Yeah.
So talking about entrepreneurship, because I love I'm an entrepreneur myself, guys.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later.
Well, you guys are with this whole podcast stuff and stuff like that. So if you're doing that, that's for sure.
So starting that CeraVe journey and entrepreneurs everywhere, what advice would you give them if they wanted to start their own entrepreneurship?
I would say, don't be afraid to start small or slow. You know, I don't think you can go from 0 to 100. You have to establish who you are, you know, which takes time. That's a collective journey within itself to understand what you have and continue to fine tune whatever that advice is or idea is. What kills, I think, entrepreneurs is they want to be everything to all people all at once. And I just don't think life works that way.
Yeah.
And I can take that back to the start of CeraVe, where we started very humbly, like I said, with kind of a utility product and just 3 products on the shelf, literally at the bottom shelf of your local drugstore. You know, we weren't seeking eye level. We didn't pay for that distribution and all that stuff, which a lot of companies can. And we built it one patient at a time for the right reasons. And I think if you think about what our brands do and maybe that's why we continue to win across all of our franchises is, again, tying it back to helping people at a time when they need you the most. That's what creates brand love. Absolutely. In this new environment where consumers can tell other consumers about their amazing experiences through social and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're willing to do the heavy work for you through user generated content or to spread the word organically without you having to intercept or interlock or bring yourself into that conversation. They do it themselves because they're so pleased with the results.
Yes. So
I think that's what creates kind of obviously your first purchase. It creates repeat purchase because they are now hooked into, your brand, as well as builds routines through multiple products. And a great example within the CeraVe franchises is also like the skin renewing line. We don't do very much marketing against that.
Right.
I love that line.
We've built this great line through, for lack of a better term, 6 degrees of separation. They've used other products within CeraVe, discovered the world of CeraVe and see our anti-aging line. So with that said, I think it's like start slow, let it build for the right reasons, and then scale at appropriate times and not overextend yourself.
I mean, you can just hearing the journey that we started with, like I can hear it's so true. It's like, it's factual. It's like this, it really like test and learn is okay.
Yeah.
And
take your time
in the process. Cause that's where you get the learns from and even make a couple mistakes. It's okay. Make some mistakes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. If you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing it far enough.
Yeah.
But again, don't overextend, because that's when you can get in trouble. And obviously it takes fuel to drive something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Tom, for being here with us. It was so inspiring to learn about all your career.
Yeah.
And Kel, what did you love about today's episode?
I mean, I feel like I could talk to you forever. So, I mean, I'm like fascinated. Like, do we have to end it here?
Right.
Because I just feel like even the journey, like not only your own personal journey, but like, I feel like just hearing you're saying like, hey, like when you reach a certain age and you think you're supposed to, you know, it's like continue on. And, you know, like maybe even the digital social part for me is like, you know, near to my heart. Like that really like, I'm like, yeah, like I'm getting different experiences right now. And I can see where maybe I think I want to go, but it's, you know, it's a journey. It is. Yeah. So I really, and obviously the CeraVe journey has inspired me. Yeah. So how about you, Lisa?
Same. I think that I love the entrepreneurship part of it, you know, and honing in on skills, growing those skills, and then scaling it. Yeah. Right. Much like this podcast, guys. It's a labor of love. But yes, that was my inspiring moment.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity and the time, and congratulations to both of you on kind of building an amazing platform that I'm excited to now start consuming Skin Goals and seeing all the guests that you guys are going to bring on. And it's been a lot of fun, and ultimately just appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Great. And we'll see y'all next time.